What if I told you that the open-world games you love today almost didn't exist? That we were stuck running left to right forever, trapped by invisible walls and the edges of our screens? But someone dared to ask, what's behind that mountain? What's inside that locked door? This is the story of how developers shattered those walls, how they transformed simple lines of code into living, breathing universes. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the game you're playing right now exists the way it does. This is the complete history of open-world games. Picture this. It's 1981. Your computer has less memory than a modern calculator. The idea of simulating an entire city was impossible. An entire planet was laughable. But Richard Garriott didn't care about impossible. He released Ultima, a game that looked basic, just tiles on a screen, but it did something revolutionary. You could move across a massive map, visit towns, buy equipment, make choices. You weren't being pushed down a corridor anymore. You were being given a space and told to exist in it. Then, 3 years later, two developers named David Braben and Ian Bell pulled off what seemed like magic. They created Elite. 8 entire galaxies, thousands of planets, all squeezed into a computer with less memory than a single email attachment today. How? Procedural generation. The computer didn't store every planet. It built them as you flew through space, using nothing but mathematical formulas. Elite gave you a spaceship and a universe and said be whoever you want. Trader, pirate, bounty hunter. The game didn't care. This sense of total freedom was intoxicating. But there was a problem. Home consoles couldn't do this yet, not until 1986. When The Legend of Zelda hit the Nintendo Entertainment System, everything changed. Most games in 1986 started you at level 1 with a clear instruction: run right, kill enemies, don't stop. Zelda? Zelda dropped you in an empty field with no weapon and no instructions. You could go north, east, west, or hide in a cave. That feeling of being completely lost wasn't a bug, it was the entire point. Kids discovered that bombing random walls would reveal secret rooms, that lighting bushes on fire could expose hidden staircases. This wasn't just a game anymore, it was a world that rewarded curiosity. But Zelda was still made of connected screens. The truly seamless 3D world was still a decade away. The 1990s were brutal. Developers knew what they wanted to create, but the hardware was fighting them at every turn. In 1991, a game called Hunter launched on the Amiga. Fully 3D, you could walk, drive, and fly across islands. It was ambitious. It was also empty and clunky. It proved that 3D open worlds were technically possible, but also that size alone wasn't enough. You needed things to do. Then came Daggerfall in 1996. If you want to talk about scale, Daggerfall is still unmatched. The map was the size of Great Britain, thousands of towns, thousands of dungeons. But here's the catch. It was all procedurally generated. The world was massive but repetitive. Same textures, same buildings, same enemies. A mile wide and an inch deep. Developers learned a hard lesson. Bigger doesn't always mean better. In 1999, Sega spent more money on a single game than anyone had before. That game was Shenmue. Unlike Daggerfall's massive emptiness, Shenmue was intentionally small, just a few districts in Yokosuka, Japan. But the detail? Obsessive. You could open every drawer, buy sodas from vending machines. Every single NPC had a schedule. They went to work, they went home, they slept. Shenmue wasn't just a game, it was a life simulator. Slow, methodical, not for everyone. But it proved something critical. An open world could feel genuinely lived in. While Shenmue was simulating peace, another team in Scotland was about to unleash chaos. October 22, 2001, the gaming industry woke up to a seismic shift. Grand Theft Auto 3 launched, and the blueprint for the next 2 decades of game design was born. Before this, GTA was a top-down 2D game. Rockstar moved the camera behind the player, built a fully 3D Liberty City, and created something unprecedented. You could follow the story or completely ignore it and drive a taxi, start a rampage, hunt for hidden packages. The city was reactive. Cause trouble and the police arrived. Cause more trouble and the FBI showed up. This was a playground of destruction, and players were obsessed. Suddenly, every publisher wanted an open-world game. The getaway, true crime, mercenaries, the term GTA clone became a genre by itself. But while Rockstar perfected crime, Bethesda was perfecting something completely different. In 2002, they released Morrowind. Unlike Daggerfall's massive expanse, Morrowind was smaller and entirely handcrafted. Every rock, every tree, every book placed by a human designer. The result? A world that felt alien and deeply historical. There were no quest markers pointing exactly where to go. You had to read journals, follow road signs, ask locals for directions. It demanded your attention, and for that reason, it became a cult classic. Players weren't tourists anymore, they were explorers. The mid-2000s brought more power, bigger maps, more ambition. In 2004, GTA San Andreas proved you could have 3 cities, countryside and desert, all in one map with no loading screens. You could work out at a gym, you had to eat. It was a technical masterpiece on the PlayStation 2. But a problem emerged: empty world syndrome. Just because you could drive for 10 minutes doesn't mean those 10 minutes were fun. Ubisoft tried to fix this with Assassin's Creed in 2007. They focused on verticality. Cities became playgrounds of rooftops. Climbing was the core mechanic. But Assassin's Creed had its own problem: repetition. It established the Ubisoft Tower formula. Climb a tower, reveal the map, check off activities. This would define and haunt the genre for years. Then Far Cry 3 in 2008 took a completely different approach. It made the world your enemy. Your guns jammed, you had malaria, fire spread realistically through grass, turning battlefields into infernos. It was frustrating for many, but it was bold. It proved that open worlds didn't have to be power fantasies. The 2010s brought refinement and arguably bloat. 2 games in 2011 defined the split in the genre's future. First, Minecraft. It returned to procedural generation but added something revolutionary. Everything was destructible and buildable. You didn't just explore the world, you reshaped it. Freedom mattered more than graphics. Second, Skyrim. Bethesda took Morrowind's handcrafted detail and streamlined it for everyone. It was accessible, beautiful, endlessly moddable. It became a cultural phenomenon that's still being re-released today. But as the decade progressed, a formula settled in. Far Cry 3, Watch Dogs, Shadow of Mordor, excellent games, but they all felt similar. Big map, icons everywhere, go to icon, do activity, check off list. Exploration became obligation, the wonder was fading. Players started feeling fatigued. Then, in 2015, The Witcher 3 changed the conversation. Open-world games had always struggled with story. How do you tell an urgent narrative when players can spend 10 hours playing card games in a tavern? The Witcher 3 solved this by making every side quest matter. A simple contract to kill a monster would twist into a tragic tale of family betrayal. The world didn't just have activities, it had history, it had heart. Meanwhile, Rockstar returned in 2013 with GTA 5, then in 2018 with Red Dead Redemption 2, perhaps the most detailed open world ever created. The pacing was deliberately slow. You cleaned your gun, bonded with your horse, animals decompose over time. It was a simulation that rivaled reality itself, pushing the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One to their absolute limits. It proved that with enough budget and time, you could build something extraordinary. Then, in 2017, Nintendo did something radical. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild looked at the state of open-world design and deleted the icons, removed the minimap, threw away the strict quest markers. See a mountain? Climb it. See a forest? Burn it. They built a chemistry engine where fire, wind, electricity, and physics all interacted naturally. It brought back the feeling of the 1986 original, pure curiosity rewarded. It proved that the joy of an open world isn't following a GPS line, it's getting distracted, it's discovery. The message was clear: trust your players. Entering the 2020s, the genre faced a new challenge: ambition versus reality. In late 2020, Cyberpunk 2077 launched with massive expectations. The promise? The most immersive, futuristic city ever created. The reality on older consoles was a disaster. Night City's art design was incredible, but the technical issues were devastating. It took years of patches and a major expansion to deliver on the promise. The lesson was harsh: ambition can't outpace hardware. In 2022, Elden Ring took a different approach. Like Breath of the Wild, it refused to hold your hand. You were dropped into the lands between with a vague goal and a horse, no quest logs filled with text. The story was hidden in item descriptions and environmental details. It was difficult, unforgiving, and it sold millions. Players were tired of being treated like children. They wanted mystery. They wanted to be surprised again. So where are we now in 2026? We're seeing the rise of simulation open worlds. Grand Theft Auto 6 is on everyone's mind. Early leaks suggest a return to Vice City with unprecedented density. But it's not about bigger maps anymore. It's about smarter maps. The biggest shift is AI integration. In the past, NPCs repeated the same 3 lines forever. Now we're seeing prototypes of AI-driven characters that can hold dynamic, unscripted conversations based on the world state. Imagine walking up to a shopkeeper in a fantasy RPG and having a completely unique conversation